And we're live.
Here we are.
It's Tucker and the Beard.
What's going on?
Whew.
It's been a day.
It's been a day. Third podcast today.
Well, whose fault is that?
Yours.
All right, fair enough.
It's not yours, but,
I was like, if that's what you need to tell
typical
yourself.
fashion, I'm going to, blame it on you. Let's see if we can get
Used to
a couple more people in here, and then we are going to get going. I hope
Dude.
everyone out there in Facebook land is having a super day.
Hope you're warming up.
Yeah, the snow is melting rapidly. So, so here we are, Tucker and the Beard, back again, and we have got a very special two-part
Special edition.
episode coming up for you, starting today,
Yes.
finishing next week,
Yes. Part two will be next week.
because it's just,
It's so much.
there's so much to go through.
With the disclaimer that I personally will do my best to
We're going to have to keep
it
this
in the rails.
We're going to keep on the rails. What we're doing is next week, 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
No, 2 weeks from Friday. Whatever. In a couple of weeks, Captain Marvel comes out.
No, I already got
And
my tickets.
Dang,
I'm set up. Got the
we're
whole
not
family.
horsing around.
I am not. When it comes to Captain Marvel, not so
and
much.
then shortly after that, in May,
Is Avengers Endgame.
So what we're going to do is we're going to help you catch up.
Yes.
There have been 20 films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe thus far.
Not to include, and I kind of jumping on this one, is the TV shows, which we're not going to go in depth because we just don't have the time.
And I haven't watched all of them.
Yeah, we'll skim.
But
We'll bounce off.
we're going to let you know where they fall in the timeline. So that's what's really, I think, key right here is to let you know that we are not going to be discussing this in the order that the films and shows were released, but we will be discussing these in the order chronologically in which they happen
Right. So
quote unquote the universe of Marvel.
Right. The first movie that we're starting with was not the first movie that came out in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But timeline-wise, it was.
Yes.
It was in the past.
It's in the past and the future.
And in the present.
In the future, past.
So cool.
Without further ado, ado-dos.
Let's ado this.
Let's ado this. Dad joke of the day.
While I drink my Alita Battle Angel tea.
Yeah, if you didn't see our review on that, once we're done with this one, you should go back and watch that one because it was pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
Surprise, surprise. All right, so we're going to start off with Captain America, the first Avenger. Again, not the first MCU film, but the first chronologically speaking, goes way, way back.
Yes, and I'm partial to it because Captain America is like my favorite character.
He's
so
pretty dope.
kind of seeing it,
He's pretty dope. He's up there in my top 10 superhero characters for sure.
Yeah, and I think that they just handled it really well. Red Skull, who was played by Agent Smith, I forget his name, Hugo Weaving.
There you go.
I pulled that
one out of the crates.
Playing the Red Skull, tore it up. Which later, when we get to that character comes back again, it is not played by Hugo Weaving, but
true story.
During this movie, he did an awesome job, and as hokey World War II as it was awesome.
Still one of the best
films
in the MCU catalog, in my opinion.
Definitely. I was going to say, I'm a big fan of Captain America. I don't know if the first one's in my top 5, but it's in my top 10.
Yeah.
So,
show. So, Captain America. Then jumping to the small screen world, we have the first and second seasons of Agent Carter.
Yes, which, did you see that?
A little bit.
Okay. I had caught the, I caught the first, first season. Season. No, it was really, really good.
We
I was
promised.
sad. No, I was just sad that it didn't continue.
Yeah, I thought
there was a lot of
what I saw. I enjoyed
unanswered questions that get asked when she's older that you want answered, but didn't happen.
Who knows? We'll see down the road. Other small screen stuff. Technically, next in the chronological timeline
see
will
what you
be
did.
Captain Marvel, which we will review in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So after that, we've got the first Iron Man, which was the first official
Started
film
it all.
in the MCU. Robert Downey Jr. knocking it out of the park.
I still say it, perfect casting. Robert Downey Jr. He fell through some hard times, but
did.
in the comics of Tony Stark.
So did he. He's like almost a real life Tony Stark in a lot of aspects.
Right. Just had a lot of, alcoholism and everything like in
Yeah.
the comics. But I remember when they did that, I was like, jaw hit the floor. I was like, that is perfect casting. Mm-hmm. Like I
had zero.
I was like, that
yep.
is fantastic.
I saw it and I was like, that's a solid choice.
And I mean, credit to Jon Favreau, who I can't remember if he co-wrote it or not, but definitely directed it and helmed the whole thing because Marvel Cinematic Universe wasn't even a thing at that time. It was just,
that's
hey, let's
what
give
made
this.
it a thing.
It's like, hey, let's give this a shot, and it was awesome.
Well, plus we had the dude.
The dude, you always have the dude. Anything with the dude, which would be Mr. Jeff Bridges,
Yeah.
who I've seen live in concert, and it was amazing.
Didn't even know that was a thing.
Amazing.
I've been to a lot of concerts and I didn't know that was a thing. But yeah,
You don't know Jack.
Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane / the Ironmonger.
Did really well because given what the movie was, like in his role in it, and when he became the Ironmonger
Yeah.
and the thing, like it wasn't a huge part of the movie, but it was just
No, because there was so
writing.
much you could feel it. The whole film was setting up for something big to come later,
right.
and so the villain wasn't as important to that film as villains will become. You see it as time goes by. You see the villains become more and more prominent, more and more a key part of the storylines.
Yeah.
And in this one, it was just kind of, well, we should probably have a bad guy.
Right. Well, and it was kind
And
of
they did a great job with it. I'm not throwing any shade. It's just kind of how it felt to me.
yeah. Well, I mean, when they started announcing the movie and they announced like the bad guy that he was going to be, you'd be like, out of all of the rogues gallery, so to speak, of
Right.
Iron Man's bad guys, really?
Well, that's one
And then
thing
it was
that
just
I've always
perfect.
liked about the MCU is they go deep.
Yeah.
For villains, it's not the low hanging fruit that they, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. They didn't dig very deep.
Right out of the park.
Just
Just
boom.
right out of the bat. It's like,
Hey,
we're
what we're
going
doing?
Green Goblin.
Green Goblin. Next, Doc Ock. Next,
Yeah.
and then they did get a little
They've learned
deeper
since then.
in the third film, but then they just went too hard with it. They just too many villains.
They
It
went
was,
full Batman Forever on that one.
It was terrible.
It's like, we don't need 8 bad guys.
No.
We just need one.
But I
Maybe 2.
digress. We'll talk more about Spider-Man next week.
Yeah.
Because there's so much.
We're not even
through.
get. I know. We're like. Da-da-da-da.
Because then we
Where we at?
straight to the next Iron Man movie. Chronologically speaking,
Not my favorite, but it was for what it was because, well, kind of backing up to Iron Man for a second because the after credit scene sets up, I kind of have to preface that because which again, first Marvel movie, the after credits thing, that wasn't really a thing before the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But it was the introduction of Nick Fury meeting Tony Stark and talking to him about the Avengers Initiative. And then it faded out. And everybody lost their minds.
oh yeah, I fangirled real hard. I was just like, oh.
I did both times that I watched it. I was like, oh my God, he just said it.
Super excited.
Yeah. So
Maybe overly so.
as good as Iron Man 2 was, it seemed like they were going really, really hard trying to throw the Avengers Easter eggs in there. And you're just like,
Okay.
I get it.
Yeah.
You can just be like,
We see what you're doing.
yeah, just be like, oh,
We appreciate it.
yeah, the references to
Yeah.
Captain America's shield, and it was numerous other ones. And then I think the one after that was the after credits one for that was for Thor,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because they're on the site and the hammer and
Hammer.
the hammer. But let's not get ahead of ourselves
Right.
because the
I was saying,
next film chronologically and arguably the worst film in the MCU. Arguably the worst film in the MCU was Ed Norton and the Incredible Hulk.
No.
And that's hard for me to say because I really like Ed Norton and I really wanted it to be good. But we also have to remember that it kind of predates the greatness of the MCU in a lot of ways. It was trying to recover from a really bad reboot.
Yeah, I was gonna say
The Hulk's
too,
always been a difficult character to put on screen.
but the one before that with Eric Bana that is not part of the MCU.
No,
was
it is not canon.
So bad, like
Yeah.
ridiculously bad. And so this one, I don't think that it was the worst one. I mean, it's a Hulk movie, and kind of gets put over, in its place. It's not the best, but it's not the worst.
I really think that this is. I'm not going to say it.
I know.
I promised I wouldn't, so I won't. But I think that this is, for me, this is my least favorite MCU film.
Okay, and that's fine. I
And
don't
that
know if
includes
I've been-
Iron Man 3.
All right, we'll get there.
I'm just saying.
We'll get there.
I'd rather watch Iron Man 3 than The Incredible Hulk. But before we get to Iron Man 3,
Yeah, thank you.
next,
My wife's favorite.
ladies everywhere favorite. I mean,
Yeah.
Thor's a beautiful man. He's not a man, he's a god. Which makes sense because he's way better than all of us.
Yeah, I was like, listen, it is what
So
it is.
and so we're finally introduced to Thor after the after credit scenes from Iron Man 2.
You kind of get
Tease
the,
at them finding his hammer in the desert in New Mexico. Now we get to finally meet Thor.
which I thought was very well done. For it was their first fantasy style movie.
leaving Earth.
Right, and
really.
the way that they did that, and played him, losing his abilities and everything, and kind of going through all that. And no, I thought it was very, very well done. Again, it's my wife's favorite, so every time Thor's and really got her into the MCU.
Well, I mean, Hemsworth did for the MCU what Momoa is doing for the DCEU.
You're not wrong.
So
You are not wrong.
that's just what I think about it.
Right.
And and we're also introduced to Loki,
Yes, which
who we would be extremely remiss if we didn't really talk about him because,
knocked it out of the park.
well, and he's such an integral part of the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Going all the way forward to where we are now.
Well, and I think as far as no,
It's like, is he
get
a
it
bad
back.
guy? Is he a good?
Well, I was almost gave some wrong information there because I was gonna say the Captain America movie was the first introduction of the Tesseract, which is the Infinity Stone. So I was kind of flipping that, but there's some references to the Infinity Stones throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Thor, but it's becomes a bigger thing.
Yeah.
Of the Infinity Stone. But yeah, Loki, amazing casting, and you're like, yeah, that's awesome. And
Sends
what's
the destroyer down to Earth to fight Thor.
I was gonna say, what's it called? Yeah,
and chaos ensues.
and Thor falls in love with
Mortal.
mortal
I mean,
scientist. Yeah,
scientist.
yeah, you can call it that. Natalie Portman herself.
Listen,
I
can't blame him.
no, I get
So,
it. I get it.
um,
But that sets
so
up.
yeah. So now we have films from Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, the Hulk.
And in Iron Man 2, Black
Oh
Widow
yeah, that's where we
was
meet Black Widow. We got to remember that. That's where we meet
Scarlett Johansson
Scarlett Johansson
playing Black Widow.
Yeah. For some reason, her character's first name freaking escapes me. Natasha
Natasha. Yeah.
Romanoff.
There you go.
There it is. So we meet her for the first time, another key part of the Avengers story going forward. And now, after Thor, we get to bring everybody together.
Which is the culmination of all these movies and what they were setting up for in Avengers.
And what a lot of people thought might be like, all right, well, we set up all of this stuff, and then that was going to be maybe an end point where they could hit a reset button.
Right.
but they did not.
Yeah, and they
You know, so we have to we see Loki again.
yeah, and he has the movie has two of the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
He has one in his scepter that allows him to control this army and whatever. And coming after the Tesseract, which is the one from Captain America that whole movie was about. So we have two of the Infinity
Which only the
Stones.
super nerds at this point have any idea that those are Infinity Stones.
Correct.
Because they're not
They're
like
not
most
saying
people
that it
most
is.
people don't know what an Infinity Stone is
Yeah.
until like earlier this year.
Yeah, and it was like, hey, it was a cube, like
Yeah.
that had a whole bunch of power and
Power
everything in
cube
it.
from space.
The space cube. But yeah, and that movie did something that no other movie has ever even attempted to do, but hit it out of the park of bringing all these main characters together and
in one team, and
pulled it off.
absolutely.
Except for Hawkeye got the chip. But
Oh.
I mean, someone had to.
Yeah.
Someone had to.
It's just Hawkeye.
Yeah, it's really hard to say without it sounding.
Yeah, I know.
Like
We have to. I've had this discussion many times.
every single time I say something to my wife, she's like, "Did you just say hot guy?" And I'm no. I'm
No,
just like,
I didn't.
I'm talking about Hawkeye.
Yeah.
It is.
But the Avengers also brings us an event that is referred to over and over again for the
Still.
remainder
Yeah.
so far. That is typically just referred to as the incident.
Yeah.
New York does not do well
Yes. It was.
in this battle versus Loki and his demon army.
Yeah, they tore up New York.
Yeah.
And caused a lot of damage. It
So
took
much
out some
Big
buildings and hurt lots of people. So where are we at?
So after this, we go to the second worst MCU film.
It's my
First worst?
my first worst, which is Iron Man 3. It is what it is. They had to. It just wasn't my cup of tea.
yeah.
But it was kind of a filler.
It seemed unnecessary.
Like you could take that movie out of the whole thing. It's not going to change anything.
Okay, snap reaction. Iron Man 3 versus Spider-Man 3.
Which one was better?
Or worse, however you want to.
I would say. I'd say Iron Man 3 was worse.
I think they're close in my mind.
They're
They're
clo-
almost
they're cl-
both just as bad.
They're completely, both of them are equally as bad, but I could sit down and watch the cartoony kind of thing that is Spider-Man 3 over Iron Man 3 going, what?
Huh?
What?
Why is this
He quits, but not really?
right?
He's got some issues, but
Well,
Not-
he's always like he started to become the reluctant hero, and here's why I like that movie more than the other worst movie in the MCU, which is The Incredible Hulk. It was a key development point for Tony Stark's character. We start seeing him, because at the end of the first Iron Man, he's like, "What's up, everybody? I'm Iron Man," and he was kind of jazzed about it.
right. He owned it.
By Iron Man 3, he's becoming more and more of a reluctant hero.
When
He
it
doesn't want to do it
took
anymore.
place after the Avengers, where he was swallowed, like some bad stuff happened to him
Yeah.
during the Battle of New York.
Bad things.
And he's having some issues with it. So that part of it that I liked it, but I think my big thing was one of the always the coolest bad guys in Iron Man comics was the Mandarin.
Yeah, and
that
they
was-
butchered the Mandarin.
And that was
For sure.
the bad guy in it,
Yeah,
played by Sir Ben Kingsley, who did when he was the Mandarin.
he was fantastic.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
But then
And
they
I
do
think-
some weird M. Night Shyamalan, like,
nonsense.
pull up the kid. Not really. That's not really the bad guy. And it's some dude, he's like, Iron Man had just fought off like an army of aliens and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like the next movie is like, this guy's really mad at me.
Yeah.
What?
Well, and yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't love it.
I'm just saying in the realm of things. I
Yeah.
could sit here and go off about
It's one of the worst films in the MCU.
Yeah.
Which still makes it
it was-
better than Twilight. So
I'm not going to disagree.
there I said it.
But it was a good payday for Robert Downey Jr. So
Yeah.
I can't be mad in
Well,
that
and it
sense.
moved the story along. Like I said, there were some character development points, and I think they kind of snuck the Mandarin in because people were getting upset because they kind of teased it out a
In the
little
first
bit
one.
in Iron Man 1 and hadn't really. They obviously made a choice not to
Right.
go down that path, which I think would have been amazing. I'm not unhappy with the storyline that they took. Even though they are kind of co-opting, a book series.
Right.
I thought, maybe they're actually going to go down a more unique storyline,
But that
and
kinda
create
goes-
something new.
That goes back to the Spider-Man one with Green Goblin. You go Mandarin right out the gate, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
like, all right, where do we
Now-
where do we
now
go?
where do we go?
Where do we go from here? Go to like MODOK, the flying head,
Oh no! I was excited that maybe
some kind of.
I was
reference.
I've been aware of the Infinity War and Civil War storylines for a long time.
right.
And it's never my favorite thing when they kind of co-opt one of an existing storyline when I know that they have the capability
Of doing
of
it
just
once.
writing something brand new.
Right.
Because they absolutely could have. Let's face it, this is now Disney. They've got the best of everything at their disposal.
Oh yeah, I'm
So if they wanted to create a brand new story arc that had nothing to do with any comic ever written, they absolutely could, and I believe they would kill it.
yeah. So I mean, it was just kind of for Iron Man 3. It was just the setup, like, oh my gosh, it's finally the Mandarin.
It's gonna happen, and then it didn't.
You're like, oh,
That's why.
Alright.
It's frankly why I was excited about Iron Man 3
Oh, yeah.
before it came
I
out, and
wouldn't-
then I was like,
I went and saw it. I was in, and I was like, oh, all right then.
yeah, Mickey Rourke was a better
was,
villain.
That was that. Yeah, playing some Whiplash.
Just Iron Man with whips. So after Iron Man 3, very specifically, and I did
Yeah, we're
I
gonna
did a ton of
skip
research here.
Skip over the surface of that.
We're gonna
or-
skip over the surface. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Well, no. After Iron Man 3, we have Agents of Shield.
the TV show. Which
Season 1,
right.
episodes 1 through 7 fall between Iron Man 3 and the next film on our list, which is
Okay.
Thor: Dark World.
Okay, I see. You went deep on it. And the only thing I was going to say, skipping over the surface of Agents of Shield, is during the Avengers movie, one of the characters that's been throughout the whole entire franchise thus far was Agent Coulson, and I'm drawing a blank on his name right now for some reason. But his character was killed off by Loki in the Avengers movie. But in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., find out he did not Clark Gregg. It just came to me.
Did it? You're so amazing.
Not the fact that it's right there. But it was revealed in Agents
This
of
is why we
S.H.I.E.L.D.
have the laptop here.
I know.
Listen, we're not perfect.
I'm trying.
Just because we love him doesn't mean that we can recite literally every actor, every character.
I'll
We're
try.
pretty good, but hey, we need electronic assistance sometimes, and that's
Yeah.
what the old laptop's for.
Yeah, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. revealed that he did not actually die.
He ain't dead.
And he went to go lead a secret S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
team.
Shield Team 6.
Not quite, but yeah, it was good.
That was the
I've
worst
watched it.
joke I'll make all night.
No, it's not as bad as one I will probably make at some point.
True story.
But yeah, it was really, it's a really cool show. I've fallen out of it, after a while, but
I try, and then better stuff comes on.
yeah. But then the next movie, which is definitely my top 5, probably in my top 2,
Dang,
top
bro.
3, top 3.
Dark World?
No, we're not. Oh, we skipped right over it. Sorry, I went down a little bit further on the list. Not Thor: Dark
I
World.
was like, really, bro?
We're sorry, I skipped ahead a little bit.
Thor 2.
We'll get to
Thor. I was
my
like, really? That's
Thor dose. What?
okay.
All right, sorry.
Respect.
Well, you have Agents of Shield on here twice, so I skipped over a little
That's
bit.
because
Yes, I get
it
you.
needs to be on here.
I get you.
It's on here more than twice, actually.
Yeah, but it does, as you said, it leads into Thor: The Dark World, which
Yes.
is the second Thor, which It's probably my
I've watched
wife's
this movie-
second
I
favorite.
watched this movie 4 times
Okay.
and still find it hard to follow sometimes.
There's some stuff that they were throwing out
I
there.
go
think
glassy-eyed every time.
I've watched the movie numerous times, and the best thing about it or whatever is that it's a setup movie.
Yeah.
They're setting up a lot of the future in Infinity Stones and talking about the stones.
Yeah,
and
this
it's
is when
where
we
you're
finally
first,
start getting introduced to Infinity Stones.
because you're introduced to
As
a new
Infinity
one.
Stones.
We're introduced to a new one that's not part of the previous two.
Yeah.
And so, and they talk about it a lot, and then, it's Thor going through his stuff and Loki being the trickster that he is.
That guy.
Fake dying a couple times, and so. But I mean,
You
for
just
what
never
it's-
know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. I still don't trust him.
he's a Loki.
Whatever
Yeah.
whatever he does to try and redeem himself, I can't trust Loki.
You're just like, all right,
Yeah.
okay. And Thor keeps on coming back to his brother,
Yeah.
not real brother.
It's what you do for family.
I get it.
You know,
I get it.
sometimes you just got to do stuff that
Just-
you don't want to do.
You just suck it up
'Cause
and
it's
deal with
family.
it. I get you. So yeah.
Next is, and again, this timeline is so very specific. So if you're trying to follow along, you know what I'll do is I will post this
I was
on
gonna say
our
that's-
page so you can see the timeline. And if you are interested in watching everything in chronological order, bless
Go
your
nuts.
heart.
Go nuts.
Go crazy. I will never accomplish this.
Yeah, I was like, I've seen them all in their own right, and mentally I can go, oh, this
You can
take
put them
place.
in place, but this is how, if you wanted to literally watch the entire story unfold from every point of view possible, this is the order that you would watch it in. So next would be Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, Episodes 8 through 16.
Okay.
And then
Then one of my,
we
Top
get into
3.
your top... Your,
I was really excited to talk about
yeah,
it.
you
I
really
was,
wanted to jump
I
in.
was, I
And
apologize.
listen, this is also one of my... Captain America is one of my favorite of
Yeah.
all time. I mean, Iron Man's always been a favorite. Captain America,
Yeah.
to a lesser extent, Captain America. For me, my top 2 of all time are Batman and Iron Man.
Okay.
Like top 2 superheroes of all time.
I was going to say, I'm just like,
And then in a third place, kind of as a honorable mention, The Punisher.
okay.
Because
Just depending on
because they're real people.
version. Right. No, I completely
And
I can see
and so there's something that's still
cool about it.
somewhat attainable about that.
Yeah.
You know, and
And 2 of them are just filthy rich and can buy suits.
well,
and
it proves that
tech.
there's really only 2 superpowers that really exist. Intelligence, because both Bruce Wayne and Tony Stark are
I was wondering
very
what that second one
intelligent
was
human
like.
beings.
and money.
Money and brains are the only real superpowers.
I was like, there should be some kind of like Freudian therapist kind of thing that goes, who's your favorite superhero? All
Right.
right, let's dissect this.
Let's
'Cause
start with that.
Your third is the Punisher.
well,
which
because it's
I can't-
the third real superpower,
Yeah, again, he's
and that's anger.
yeah, he's just mad and brutally hurts a lot of people.
4 superpowers love. And it's in that
I
order.
quit.
Brains,
I quit.
money, hatred, love.
I was like, that's what the Punisher does.
Yeah.
If you know anything about the Punisher character,
He's
he's
just
all
mad.
about. Oh, I thought you
He
were
just-
gonna,
no,
I was
no.
going to say he's all about the love. Like
No.
he just goes around giving people flowers.
Yeah.
No,
Nope.
not so much.
So going into the winter, take it away, Tucker. This is your baby.
Yeah, Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Bucky freaking Barnes, man.
Bucky Barnes. I completely ruined that for my wife. After we got done with
Way to go.
the first Avenger, his best friend Bucky Barnes
Gets
dies.
chucked off a train.
Yeah. And, my wife was very upset about at the end of the movie. And she's like, I'm just sad that Bucky died. And I'm like, don't worry.
Hey.
Trying to consult. This is before there was even talks of a second Captain America movie
Yeah.
or whatever. But I was like, don't worry.
If they're going where I think they're
I was
going,
like, he's still.
he'll be back.
I was like, it's fine. He falls in the water. He he starts working for Hydra, becomes an assassin called the Winter Soldier, and so on and so forth. Hey, what's up, Josh
Hey,
Rice?
Josh. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. So, and she's like, oh, okay, cool. So when they announced Captain America Winter Soldier with the masked villain, and are like, kind of like, ooh, who is it? I immediately got a, you
already know.
you ruined that for me. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah. But it is so, to me, it's so reminiscent. Yeah. It's so reminiscent of like 70s spy thriller
Oh yeah.
movies that like I loved watching.
Well, plus you start seeing this union kind of start forming. You know,
Yeah, the things that they're talking about of the
with other
Hydra,
characters, too.
Hydra and Shield, which are these two kind of. Well, Hydra is something that was from Captain America.
they're basically the Nazis.
Yeah, I was going to say more or less they're the Nazis, and then Shield is this government kind of entity, but you find out that Hydra has infiltrated the highest ranks of essentially the government.
Yeah.
And has caused wars and
They're
lots
bad,
of
okay.
yeah, they're doing a lot of bad stuff within
Yeah.
the government.
They're not nice chaps.
Yeah. And so then it's the fall of Shield, and it's Captain America being
The world is
awesome
in
and
chaos.
Winter Soldier. Well, because Hydra like wiped his memory, so he doesn't really.
Yeah, he doesn't. All
But
he
it's
really
that-
knows is his programming, and you've got Captain America trying to bring him back because
Finding out his friend is still alive.
Rogers is a good
and then-
dude.
yeah,
He's not trying to kill his buddy.
seriously, played by
He doesn't want to.
the wonderful Chris Evans, who just in life sees goodness.
He seems like a
It was like he was at
genuinely
the
decent
Oscars
human
the other
being.
day. Like he escorts some lady up the stairs. I'm like, look at you, man.
Now,
So
listen,
should've
we're
fall-
in.
come on.
I feel like I should.
Zach Morris timeout.
Yeah, just for 1 second. And even though we're not going to be talking about this film today, we'll talk about it next week. I do want to give a big shout out to Black Panther
Yes.
and the performance at the Oscars this weekend. Now, I'm not one to hold all that stuff in super high regard. I don't even watch the show, but here's what I appreciated. I appreciated what it meant for people of color in the film industry. That's huge. It always is.
Yeah.
But also, I'm super stoked for it bringing some legitimacy, some friggin' Oscar level legitimacy
When
to
it-
comic book movies.
Yeah, and it was the first time Marvel had won an Oscar, been nominated.
Yeah.
The first one that they won was
This isn't just popcorn flick garbage.
yeah, the first Oscar that they won the other night, but in Marvel's time frame is and not part of the MCU, which was Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Which after this one, you can go back and watch that.
Yeah. Go back a couple weeks.
But I don't know what's going on.
Okay. We're going to stop real quick and we're going to answer some questions.
Okay.
Steve, yes, we know Arizona Iced Tea is made in New York City.
But Arizona's awesome, which is why they use that name.
Yeah.
Moving along.
Josh, beards are superpowers. They don't provide superpowers. And in answer to your other question, how many superheroes have beards?
3.
Not nearly enough.
I was just throwing a number up.
I don't know if that's the real answer or not.
There's 3
but
of
I
them.
can tell you, not enough.
Yeah. Go back to Paul Bunyan,
Right?
not MCU.
The original. Yeah. Also not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor, Paul Bunyan.
So, okay.
So we got so far.
Winter Soldier.
Awesome movie.
After that,
Amazing. Things
we
fall
have
apart. Changes.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, Episode 17 through 22. So, wrapping us up
Good for
in
you,
Season
Agents.
1, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which leads into Guardians of the Galaxy. Greatest soundtrack in any comic book movie of ever.
Yeah, I have to give
I mean,
my
it
son
didn't win an Oscar like the compositions for Black Panther did, but
Yeah. No, one of the things as far as the soundtrack to Guardians of the Galaxy, that is where I realized that my son was born in the wrong era when it comes to music. Like he's never been like crazy.
listen, I
You
think
put in
everyone
that
born
soundtrack.
after 2002 was born in the wrong era for music because it's all really kind of sucked since then.
I agree, but
The exception of Justin Timberlake, who's still a national treasure.
I'll let Shayla yell at you for that one.
Hey, I believe it.
Hercules. Okay.
All right.
Thanks. I'm not sure what to say about that, Josh, but yes.
Yeah, but not very good beards. Some of them.
Some old classics. Like,
Yeah.
well, we're
Ultimate Nick Fury. Wolverine's beard is kind of good.
I see what
Aquaman
you're
doesn't
doing.
really have a beard.
Beard heroes. I caught up. Sorry. Took me a
He's
couple.
a little.
Slow.
Doctor Strange has a goatee at best. Maybe a chin strap.
Well, and Tony Stark's gotten there, but
Yeah.
oh,
He goes back and forth.
yeah, that's all good.
We need some good.
But
We need some good beards.
yeah,
Wolverine's has been the best so far, especially in Logan.
no, that was really good. Yes,
Back
Different
to the action
MCU.
though.
yes.
Guardians of the Galaxy. First one that full on just takes place in space.
Yep, and they were shooting for the stars, no pun intended, on this one. But it was, but they were like, it's not a well-known comic.
No.
I didn't know a lot about Guardians of the Galaxy,
But the true
beforehand.
believers knew that they did interact with the Avengers.
yeah,
So it
And it
didn't
worked.
it didn't it wasn't too out of left field.
right. But it was the first one. Like Thor was the first one, kind of took place in space.
Yeah.
This is the first one that was like, no,
It's in space.
it's in space.
Yeah.
Like in parts unknown
Yeah.
of space, and
In
introduced lots
a
of
galaxy
alien.
far, far away.
No, it wasn't.
Well, it was.
It was, but just not.
But I mean, Disney owns both properties now, so I think we can use that in conjunction.
They better not start.
Hey,
combining.
Disney, give me a crossover. I want to see some Luke
I wanna
Skywalker
see
fighting.
Chris Pratt with a lightsaber.
That's right.
So
Could you imagine if Tony Stark was a Jedi?
I don't want to.
Unstoppable.
I don't want to.
Unstoppable.
don't
Greatest
want
hero of all time.
Guardians of the Galaxy was
I'm making
amazing.
some bold,
You are. You're just throwing it out
bold statements right now.
there. Yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy was awesome. We were introduced to yet another Infinity Stone
Yep.
in that one. Lots of cool characters and especially everyone's favorite Groot,
Groot.
played by the one and only
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel, and then Bradley Cooper playing Rocket,
Raccoon.
where he
Yeah.
wasn't very shallow. Come on, see I told you it was gonna be.
Yeah.
I told you it was gonna be. Not that good.
Security.
I know. I'm just gonna go ahead and
Just
leave.
come get him.
My horrible jokes.
So and that brings us to the 50% mark.
Yes. And the only thing I was going to say as far as the bad guy in that, which is Ronan the Accuser, who works for Thanos.
Yes.
You've gotten little kind of Thanos things.
They're starting to really sprinkle Thanos more and more
that
heavily
he's-
into everything.
Yeah, that he's coming, but this was the first one where I think you see him. No, I'm sorry. At the end of the Avengers, there's a little after credit
Yeah,
scene where
there's some after credit stuff.
right, where he just turns around and says,
Yeah.
he's going to do it himself or something like that. I can't remember.
Thanos.
But yeah, but this one is all out. You see some Thanos briefly, but
Yeah, you see more of him there, which makes sense because we're introduced to Gamora.
yeah. And I think
Chris Pratt is Star-Lord.
yeah, that's the
Another amazing casting decision.
like Dave Bautista, in Drax the Destroyer.
So good.
Brought some really good comedy, which you didn't sit there and think. And then Zoe Saldana playing Gamora. See, I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, you are.
I'm doing pretty
Doing
good.
all right.
I'm gonna name some people and some things.
No, listen.
Benicio del Toro playing the Collector.
Mm-hmm.
So he's involved in that one. So, yeah, but then one of the cool things just about, thus far, and it continues, again, we're at the 50% mark. We're at 100 proof right now.
100 proof.
But that they're sprinkling things throughout the whole entire storyline, and you're kind of catching up to things. You're getting a little bit more of the backstory of things to come. Because in that one, Star-Lord Chris Pratt's character actually holds on to one of the Infinity Stones without dying.
It's true.
He does not die like everyone else that holds on to it. And that comes into play
It's kind of a big deal.
later.
It's kind of a big deal.
Huge deal.
So,
Here we are. 50%. I was really
50% in.
I was going to say I'm doing my best not to go off about
So many things.
So many things that I probably could.
Yeah.
Each movie be like, let's talk about
We're trying
that
to
one.
keep this somewhat digestible for everybody. So
We got a long way to go.
Yeah,
And
we've
a
got a
short
lot of
time
work
to
to
get
do
there.
next week. So we're
that-
going to leave you there.
Let's leave it there.
Do us a favor. Toss us a like,
Please,
a share. Check out the YouTube page. We got more and more content coming there as well.
Thank you for commenting.
And yeah, appreciate
awesome.
you guys interacting. We'll do another live stream next week.
yes. Tuesday.
I'm going to be coming straight from a conference. So
Yes, you're
it's
gonna-
going to be a long Tuesday,
Yeah, it's gonna be there. I will.
but we're going to rock it
yeah.
like the raccoon.
I wasn't going to.
you weren't
I
going
wasn't.
to?
I wasn't
I
gonna
was-
do that
I was
because
there.
I've made enough bad jokes.
So, and what we're going to see next week, in addition to the remainder of what's leading up to Captain Marvel and Endgame, is Disney really started thinking that we all want to watch MCU stuff on the small screen.
Which they're not.
They're not wrong.
They're not wrong. We want more.
So,
and
but
this
some
is just
very
a
different points of
version.
view.
Yeah.
Very different points of view.
So
So that's it.
that's it.
us.
That's all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
I don't know what to do with my hands.
as usual, until next week, he's Tucker.
He's Beard.
We're out.